Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo.
What do I hear? Is that a clock? I mean, that's how you measure time, right? Seconds, minutes, hours? You don't use a ruler for that. This is the Mafia Minute, where every microsecond is devoted to the Buffalo Bills. I am Magnum Mills, here with a card-carrying member of the Bills Mafia, Jamie G, Esquire the something, likes to pretend he's a lawyer, but can't get into court of law without getting in trouble. Thank you for checking out the Mafia Minute. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. We are presented by Seize the Gap Fantasy Football. Find us on social media at Seize the Gap FF. You heard. Don't forget it. And do not forget the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. Helps other people find our show, find our channel. And that's what you want, right? You want the Bills Mafia to come together, increase in numbers. You're stronger that way, right, Jamie G?
We are here. We are strong, and we are the Mafia. Shout out, Benny the Butcher. I am Jamie G, Esquire the fifth, and to Mills's point, no, I will not defend you in a court of law. Won't, can't. It's all submit.
Might not even be allowed into the room without an escort. Who knows? Yes,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is the Bills Mafia, and I got a couple of words for you. I'm going to start off with a hey, because you know what time it is. It's time to shout. We're coming off a victory Thursday night at home, needed it big time. And I know the haters are going to be out there, but Jamie G, it came down to a Hail Mary. It's the fucking NFL, okay? Sometimes it comes down to a Hail Mary. Any team can win any week. This league is really crazy. If you don't know that, you haven't been watching the league these last 8 weeks. We got to win. It's hard to win in this league. It was a big one. We're on to Cincinnati. Not to quote the asshole, the devil, Bill Belichick, but we're on to Cincinnati.
Well, you just made me. I'm like, man, when's the last time I watched The League? Remember that show on FX?
I love The League.
Solid. It's on Hulu. It keeps suggesting, like, hey, you haven't watched this in a while. I'm kind of getting deep in the season, but I love The League. I should bring that one back. Yeah, I mean, good game. You had the Island game on Thursday night. Enjoy it, right? I don't think y'all play again at 1 p.m. on Sunday until week 17, if I remember correctly. So check your local listings for providers every week to know when the Bills are on. Walk us through that game, man. How about start with the defense, maybe? I think they probably stepped up, right?
They did step it up. I mean, look, the defense is really, really banged up. We've lost starters, and not just starters, but like leaders and some of our best players on all three levels of the defense. We know that. But you know what? When players are hurt and your team is banged up, I think it's an opportunity for the coaches. This is where the coaches make their money. This is an opportunity for them to create, to game plan, and to get their guys in a right spot and take on the challenge. And I know Sean McDermott wants to take that challenge on. And we saw it a little bit against Cincinnati. I definitely like the fact that the defense got back to getting some pressure on Baker Mayfield. I think 3 sacks, something like 10 QB hits, 8 passes defended. They were flying around. They were making plays. I really like to see that aggressive nature. It helped that the Bills got a little bit of a lead. Again, when the Bills are playing from ahead, it definitely makes the job on defense a lot easier. But didn't get any turnovers. I don't recall, but definitely played a lot better in terms of getting stops. First quarter, first half. They really couldn't run the ball on us. They were having trouble moving it. We got a bunch of stops, so that was really good. And the reality is we, as an NFL team, we only gave up 18 points. If you can keep your opponent to under 20, and you've got a quarterback like Josh Allen, you should win pretty much every game. They gave up 18 points, 302 total yards, and held the Bucs to 4 out of 15 on third down. That's how you win in this league. So really, really, really appreciated the defense. I think they did their part in this game. I know everyone was down on them, especially after giving up that last drive and playing terrible in New England. They bounced back a little bit against Tampa Bay. It was kind of a get-right game.
Before we talk about the positives on offense, how about the negative? You did only go 2 for 4 in the red zone. That's been a struggle all year.
Yeah, they definitely slowed down a little bit in the red zone. Whether it's self-induced penalties, whether it's play calling, whether it's, whatever it is, it just frustrates the heck out of you. I mean, we saw it when we were 4th and 1. I think it was in New England, and we ran 4 plays out of the shotgun trying to run a delayed handoff. Now, I know Josh Allen is banged up. Actually, it was against Tampa Bay. I know Josh Allen's banged up, and I know he's got a shoulder. But at other points in the game, you're running them. So we're seeing the tush push. We saw the tush push evolve with your Eagles with a running play to DeAndre Swift. I know we can do it. We've got a 6'5" quarterback who's 250 pounds. I question at that point the play calling. Outside of that, though, I think the offense operated efficiently, but no question, we've got to get better in the red zone. That's somewhere where we've been really efficient in years past. This year, we've been struggling to convert and get 7 points.
Yeah, on the more positive side, you see Josh Allen had a really good night in what I think might have helped, besides the star of the show, Khalil Shakir, is that he had 39 targets, 37 of them went to Stephon Diggs, Dalton Kincaid, Gabe Davis, or Khalil Shakir. No 2 targets to Latavius Murray. I know you didn't have a backup tight end, but you're not working one out to Deontay Hardy, working Trent Sherfield in there. Do you think narrowing down kind of the menu of options for Josh Allen maybe helped a little bit and led to that big game for Shakir?
I think it did, and I think getting guys a chance to stay warm, right? Get them in the game and let them play a little bit. It's hard to let a guy come in, a Hardy, a Shakir, a Sherfield, and run 3 plays and expect to have an impact. Let guys settle in, let them start working the defense, let them, I think that matters. Sometimes there is a thing as having too many weapons, and I think sometimes, Ken Dorsey is maybe fallen victim to too many ingredients in his cabinet and not figuring out which ones to use and use consistently. So I did really like they for what it's worth, they've been making emphasis on spreading the ball around and making teams defend more than just Stephon Diggs. One person I think that could have had a whole lot more catches and runs is James Cook. He was open a lot. Josh didn't always go to him, but I look for that that had to have shown up on tape, and I think we'll see more of that as the season progresses. Shout out Shakir, dude. We got to talk about him. He had the big game. I mean, caught all 6 of his targets, 92 yards, got the touchdown. I think he showed what type of player he can be. If he can do that consistently, that's a really great thing for the Bills, and it gives them a little bit of optionality depending on what they decide to do with Gabe Davis, as he heads into free agency potentially at the end of this year. So really proud of Shakir. He flashed at times last year. This was his first shot, and he delivered, man. So, between him and Kincaid, those are 2 super welcome additions for the Bills offense.
You don't have to get all the way into your preview for this week, but do you think this is something we're going to see going forward, at least until Dawson Knox returns? They were big on that 12 package. Now, they went with the 11 package almost all game, someone out of necessity. Do you think they just keep that up now, even if, say, Quentin Morris returns this week?
I think so. I think it's definitely going to be the favored package because, having Dawson Knox on the field gives them the 12. I think they really like that. Ken Dorsey had a ton of success with it with Cam Newton in Carolina. They want to run it, but this worked, and I think you see it until you see Knox come back. I do think one thing that continues is Dalton Kincaid. I think Dalton Kincaid is becoming a reliable target. I mentioned this before. There were plenty of times in that game, there was a 3rd down and a 4th down for the Bills where they absolutely had to have it. And where did Josh Allen go with the football? He went to Kincaid. That is incredible trust. That the fact that he delivered, I think you're going to see this starting to evolve week in and week out. The guy's an absolute mismatch. And teams are going to have to think about how to stop Dalton Kincaid right now. And I don't think they've had to worry about it so far this year. And then you throw in the mix, what Shakir did. And now there's bona fide weapons on this team. Obviously, it's one game. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But if they start showing that they can do this week in and week out, this offense is going to be really hard to defend. And we know the potential of this offense. We've seen it for the last couple of years. But to be able to do that consistently, even with a banged up defense, that's how this Bills team can still compete for not only the division, but the AFC and making a run in the playoffs.
One thing I was minorly disappointed in Dalton Kincaid finally got his first touchdown right. We did not get any touchdown celebration celebrating Dalton from Roadhouse. He's got to work on that. You need like the roundhouse kick or whatever. I want to see that, man. If Tyreek Hill's doing backflips and everything, you got to get a roundhouse kick in there, Dalton. If you're truly
Dalton, absolutely love it.
You got to do that, dude. You got to go a little Roadhouse.
Yeah, maybe he kicks him out, rejects a couple people. Shout out to him though. If anyone saw this picture, maybe we'll find it, we'll put it up, we'll see what our producer says. But as he jumped in to the crowd, you just see a look of pure joy, massive smile on his face. He's getting hugged, getting loved up. Anybody that's ever played a sport as a kid growing up, you dream of a moment like that. You make believe it in your head a million times in the backyard or the basketball court, or the baseball diamond, or wherever you are. That was a cool moment to see. Just as a fan, you could see like that dude. That was incredible for him. I'm very happy for him. Hopefully, that's the first of many. And I'm happy for Josh Allen, who went and found the ball and made sure he brought it to the sideline for his guy Dalton Kincaid.
Saw that. I remember, I think it was Mike Evans like giving away Tom Brady's record-breaking football or whatever.
Yeah.
That was a good, and having to try to track that back down. I remember that was like a whole thing, so that was a good one. So shout out Josh doing the right thing there.
It cost Tom Brady a Bitcoin, didn't it? Didn't he give a guy a Bitcoin and like something else? And like
he did. He made all right by him. The guy wasn't settling
Yeah.
for the usual like I'll take a picture with you kind of deal or give you another signed ball or something. So how about Josh's injury? Any long-term worries here? Did not practice today. We'll get to that in the injury report, but there seems to be no concerns about him playing. Is this going to be something that lingers that he's got to manage throughout the season? Sounds like it might be one of those a little bit, anyways.
Unfortunately, I'm worried it will be. And this is 2 years in a row this dude has had to play through an injury on his throwing arm. Last year he had the joint in his elbow. Same injury that Brock Purdy famously got in the NFC Championship game that knocked him out. Josh got that, I think week 5 or 6 last year against the Jets, played with it for the bulk of the season, really didn't get right until kind of the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. For what it's worth, while playing with that shoulder, he's having his most accurate season of his career. I think he's quietly putting up MVP-like numbers. He's really having a good season despite what's going on with the Bills overall. I think Josh is having as good a season as he's had. I do worry that it's going to be a consistent thing. He said it's more of a pain management thing. We know the dude's absolutely tough as nails and will play through anything that he possibly can. But I do worry. I mean, even against Tampa Bay, we saw him run into the blue tent, took a little bit of a hit on it. Guys are going to target it, man. Guys are going to try to knock him out of the game. Defenses are going to try to hit him there. It's just, for what it's worth, it didn't really stop him from running the football. We saw him kind of have his most prolific running game of the season against Tampa Bay. But I do worry that this thing could be something that keeps kind of getting banged up and just nags him throughout the course of the season. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully he gets off the injury report and it's fine. But I do worry that this is going to be something that's going to happen, kind of down the stretch here, similar to last year with that elbow.
Jamie G, anything else on last week before we go into our Mafia moment here?
Just proud of the fans, proud of the team for rallying and winning a game that they needed to win. The Bills have a really hard schedule down the stretch. Losing to New England hurts bad. That was a game that we absolutely had to have. I'm glad that they didn't make the mistake again. I like the fact that they came out with the energy they did. And shout out to Stephon Diggs, who was given a shout out by Coach McDermott and others for giving a fiery pregame speech, demonstrating some real leadership. He's gotten a knack over the years for being a diva and not a team player. You ask anyone in that locker room, they would say the exact opposite. And shout out to Diggs for being a leader and getting the team ready to play with a high level energy. It's time to go to war, man. And I loved seeing that on the field. I hope they bring it in Cincinnati.
Nice. I hope to see that as well. So how about it, man? What was your Mafia moment from the Week 8 victory over the Bucs? Just your favorite moment from that game.
Absolutely, every reason should go to Khalil Shakir. And shout out Shakir, but I've seen him get his TD before. I've seen him have his moments before, not to this extent. This was an incredible moment, incredible game for him, but I'm not going to give it to Shakir. Part of me wants to give it to Josh Allen for that awesome scramble touchdown run where he just like savagely stared down Jamel Dean and ended up just scoring a touchdown like Josh Allen does. But I'm not. I'm going to give it to Dalton Kincaid. Look, man, the guy was drafted in the first round. They moved up a couple spots for him. He's supposed to be a bona fide weapon. I think all of Bills Mafia was really happy when the one bright spot of a stinker of a game in New England was Dalton Kincaid. And we were thrilled to see him finally get his touchdown in Buffalo, in front of the fans, in prime time, and play another really good game. So I got to give it to Dalton Kincaid with that touchdown, with him jumping up in the crowd and celebrating with Bills Mafia.
All right. So you liked it so much, you brought it up twice, making sure we're going to show it to you, talk about it. Dalton Kincaid is very well represented, and it was a victory. So that does mean that it's time to put something else on our Mafia mannequin. We're kind of doing a reverse major league thing here. There, they took pieces of clothing off. Here, we started with the naked mannequin, putting stuff on. Right now, he's got a nice little white Buffalo Hills bucket hat, some Buffalo Bills shades, a sick ass 80s, 90s style gold rope chain. Got some Buffalo Bills chicken wing boxer briefs, a couple of blue receiving gloves. Then he's got like one Josh Allen sock and then one blue Buffalo Bills game sock. So, JBG, we're running out of room for accessories. What are you going to put on the man here?
Dude, this is really tough because I want to just give him like a Josh Allen jersey. But I don't think I'm going to do any current player jerseys. I don't know that I'm going to do that. Oh man, I'm struggling here. I mean, I could take a cheap shot and just be like, give me a knee pad, but I don't think I'm going to do knee pad either, Mills. Look, man, we're heading into winter. It's getting cold. I think I got to give them, in honor of my favorite player growing up as a kid, I think I got to give him a classic 90s Bills Thurman Thomas uniform to rock. I think we got to give him the Thurman Thomas jersey, put that baby on him. That's a Hall of Famer. It's one of the best Bills players to ever play the game. Give me that Thurminator. Number 34, baby.
Nice. I'd like that one. I think that's a pretty good one. I'm surprised. I thought maybe for a moment you were going to go with like the Tony Soprano undershirt or something like that, but I like the Terminator jersey. That's pretty hot.
That's awesome. Well, we can't do anything Sopranos on this with Tony because, Michael Imperioli recently said that James Gandolfini, after season 3 or 4, Sopranos had all the fire, hottest show on television. James Gandolfini gets a random phone call, never was able to trace down who this was or where it came from. Random phone call, and it was simply this guy that said, "You're doing a great job with the show. One thing, Dons don't wear shorts." Click. And our guys got the short boxer briefs on. So can't do it. Going with the Terminator. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't think even boxers. I think that was more when Tony was at the barbecue in the shorts. I'm
with
pretty
the
sure
shorts, it definitely was.
That was very, very early. That's early, probably early season 1 Sopranos. God, that's
when he's swinging around the sausages and everything. Yeah,
the sausage. Yeah, that's
it's
been a minute.
Shout out Sopranos. That's still amazing show.
Yeah, it's the best thing in Jersey, so they got that going for them at least. And before we get to week 9, let's break down the trade deadline. Bills made one deal here from the Green Bay Packers that got cornerback Rasul Douglas and a 2024 5th-round pick. To get that, they set out their 2024 3rd-round pick. That basically breaks down to the equivalent of an early 4th-round pick. Davis is 29 years old, got one more year left on his deal, non-guaranteed $9 million. And ESPN liked it. They gave the Bills a B+ on the deal. CBS Sports did the same with the B+. Sports Illustrated gave the deal a B-. But now for the most important grade, Jamie G, grade the trade.
It's an A. It's an absolute A. And here's why. This was a position the Bills absolutely had to get better at. When we lost Trey White, he was just starting to get back into form. It gave us a veteran leadership at the position, and it gave us the ability to kind of take away a player, take away a part of a field. When he went down and we had to, Christian Benford, who's a second-year player, who's playing well, we had to bring in kind of our bench at that point and say, okay, well, let's try Kiara Lam, who we know isn't been playing well. He didn't cut it. He got smoked toast for a couple of games there because he had to play because of injury. Then we go to Dane Jackson, who's a 7th-round pick a couple years ago, who's good, not great. This is a guy that comes in and instantly becomes the best corner in the room. He fits the scheme very well. Sean McDermott likes physical corners that can tackle, that can come up and play the run, and can be aggressive down the field. This guy can do that. He is absolutely a dog. You ask Green Bay fans, they are so mad they lost him. You talk to players there, they lost a leader in the locker room. I really like the competitive nature of this player. And here's the beauty of it. We gave up a third-round pick. Well, we're going to get a compensatory pick that's a third-round pick for losing Tremaine Edmonds in free agency. So this is really a nothing burger for us. I like it. I understand there's a non-guaranteed $9 million next year. I get all that, but I think this was a trade we absolutely had to make, and I really like it. I think it, again, instantly comes in, solves a major problem for us, and gives us a bona fide stud at corner. Look at the receivers we got coming up. I mean, between the Bengals, we got the Eagles. I mean, somebody's got to cover AJ Brown. He's on an absolute tear this year. I mean, we play a lot of really good teams. We got to play Tyreek in Miami again. We needed this. So this is an A all day for your boy Jamie G.
All right, so let's be charitable here. Y'all signed Uncle Lenny, Leonard Fournette, to the practice squad. I'm assuming he will make it to the active roster. So let's consider him part of the trade deadline, even though you didn't actually trade for him. So that being considered, you got a corner, you got another running back. How do you grade the trade deadline moves here?
They're good. And here's the one thing that I'll say, and I'll get back to Uncle Playoff Lenny in a second. The one thing I'll say is they didn't address the linebacker position, which I'm taking is in my positive growth mindset. I'm taking that as a sign that they believe Matt Milano has a chance to come back end of the year into playoffs. I really think they believe that. And the same could be potentially true for Daquan Jones. So they didn't address the tackle. They didn't address a linebacker. Maybe they just couldn't, and that's totally plausible. But I think it has more to do with the fact that they really like Terrell Bernard. They absolutely are in love. Matt Milano is a top 3 linebacker in the league, period. You could say, oh, Jamie G, you're nuts. Nobody's going to argue the fact that he's a top 5. I think he's top 3. He's not going anywhere. So to make a big trade, it's like, well, what do? We got our 2 guys. I think they think he's coming back. So I will say that. I'm happy with it. They did what they had to do. The team got better. They didn't, franchise the future for it, but the team got better. I like the Uncle Lenny signing. Okay. I know everyone's like, oh, we got running backs. This adds a dimension to what we're trying to do. The weather's getting cold. He's dynamite in the passing game. He's coming off one of his best statistical seasons of his career. We saw what he did during that Super Bowl run with Tampa Bay. I think he adds something to this team, and I think he'll make an impact. I think he's got something to prove.
Okay, but I mean, if his touches are going to come basically at the expense of James Cook, are you all right with that?
I don't know that they will. I think this offense can shift into, instead of giving 15 to 20 touches to the run game, I think it can give 30 to 35. I really do. And I think,
well, so then they come from the passing offense then instead of from Cook. I mean, they have to come from somewhere. You're not going to drastically increase the volume of plays you're running. So I'm just saying for him to be effective, he's always been most effective in a high volume touch role. So that's the one thing that worries me is he was not good when generally asked to split the job or whatever. So I don't know if I would love the move if it's with the idea that he's going to kind of just become the every down back or something like that. I don't know that I would be happy with that.
But here's the thing: the Bills, we got a banged up defense. The best way to deal with that is control the clock. And how do you do that? Well, it's by running the football. So I think that the other thing too is I want to keep James Cook healthy, and I think this gives us another viable weapon along with Latavius Murray. I'm okay with the signing. I don't expect him to come in and be like, oh, he's the piece that's going to win a championship, but I think he's the piece that's going to. I think he adds something to this team. I'm okay with it. I really am. I'm not hating on the Uncle Lenny at all.
No, I don't mind it. It's just probably, given my druthers, I don't know that that's where I would have gone with the way Latavius Murray has played. But yeah, didn't really cost you nothing. We'll see when he actually makes it on the roster. I would just hesitate. Just if James Cook is getting a little bit of kind of growing pains, you have to work through him at some point. I would say better now than later down the road. So that's the one thing that worries me. You mothball him for this year, kind of. You're already at year 3 of his rookie contract next year. You know what I mean? You forget how fast this thing tolls with running backs. So I've just seen this happen with running backs, and it always scares me a little bit when they don't, you know what I mean? They don't get that, they kind of lose the vote of confidence, it seems a little bit. And that feels a little like what it is here. Maybe they're just bringing him in as insurance for the Damian Harris thing, but Fournette specifically held out for the right, role basically. And it would surprise me if he signed up thinking that he's just going to be a real complimentary player. That's the only thing I'm thinking is they might have, he's agreeing to do this because he's going to get a fairly significant role, and that would just, I would rather see them give the younger player a shot, because then you could always go to Latavius Murray, and Uncle Lenny would probably still be out there.
And he's with a contender. I mean, that's the other thing too. I don't think he's signing up to go play with, the
No,
Raiders.
that's what I mean, but I don't think he'd take a bench. Remember how like Melvin Gordon signed with the Chiefs? He got like a ring basically on the practice squad. I don't know that he would do that.
Yep. Well, time will tell. I'm okay with the signing. I love the Douglas, and I think.
I like the signing. I don't want it to be at the expense of James Cook. I think that's the.
I hear you. Shout out James Cook, man. Dude's a great player.
Yeah, I don't like it when teams give up on these young players. So let's set the stage for Week 9. The Bills are at Cincinnati, Sunday Night Football, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. Sunday Night Football. It's supposed to be a cool Ohio evening. Temperatures in the high 40s. Kind of minimal wind, minimal chance of precipitation. Looking nice. The spread has moved around here. Right now, the Bills are +2. They're +105 on the money line. The game total has risen steadily. It's now at 49.5. As far as injuries, the Bills, Josh Allen is questionable. Did not practice Wednesday, but he's expected to play. Safety Damar Hamlin's questionable. Quarterback Khalil Ilham is questionable. Did not practice Wednesday. I've heard there's a chance he's put on IR. Tight end Quentin Morris had limited participation in practice Wednesday. And linebacker Balen Spector is questionable. For the Bengals, linebacker Akeem Davis-Gaither is questionable. Running back Joe Mixon is questionable. Expect him to play. Limited participation in practice Wednesday. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson is questionable. Did not practice Wednesday. And then you have defensive tackle Josh Tupou, safety Tyson Anderson, and tackle Orlando Brown Jr., who are all questionable for the Bengals. Jamie G, you know my keys. Give us those keys to victory for Week 9.
Yeah, and a big one right off the bat, right? For those that maybe don't remember, let me just remind you, last December in Cincinnati, the Buffalo Bills went into play, and a couple plays into the game, we had the Damar Hamlin situation where he went into cardiac arrest. It was one of the hardest things to watch as a fan. I can't imagine what it was like for the players on the field. And I just want to say thank you again and shout out to the medical staff of both teams, but particularly the Bills teams, who legitimately performed the CPR and saved Damar Hamlin's life. And shout out to the hospital in Cincinnati, nearby the stadium, where he was, treated and helped and eventually released. And it's just amazing that he's going to find himself back on that field in any capacity here less than a year later. So for the Bills, I think, it was emotional for all of them. Obviously, T. Higgins was involved on the hit that caused it. But I think the Bengals are probably it's not as emotional. It will be. They'll remember it. But for the Bills, it's managing that emotion early on and making sure that you're not getting too high, too low, too wrapped up in that moment. The reality is you got to face a team that's burning bright hot on a 4-1 run that is looking to win a game in their house in prime time. That's the reality. So managing that emotion, acknowledging it for how special it is, being thankful, and going out and winning one for your brother who died on that field and came back, and doing it in his honor. I think that's got to be the message. Outside of that, it's going to be, can the Bills defense once again do what we saw him do, say, against Miami, and limit the big play down the field to the wide receivers of Cincinnati, which I think is the best in the league, between Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. Being able to limit the big play, being able to get key stops and get off the field on third down. That is going to be the difference in this game, in my opinion. Offensively, we got to win on first down. We got to control the clock, win the turnover battle. When the Bills win on first down, this is a team that can sustain 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 play drives and get points. They got to win on first down. Win on first down, control the clock, win the turnover battle. You do those things, I think we got a recipe for success for the Bills.
Well, it sounds like you got a stew going there. If you can add all those ingredients up. Before I get your score prediction for Week 9, need to look back at your score prediction from Week 8. And I got to say, it might be one of your most accurate on the season. You had Buffalo 28, Tampa Bay 20. The actual final was Buffalo 24, Tampa 18. So you were in the universe. You had them winning by 8, won by 6. Might matter if you had some money on the game, but for our purposes here, we'll count that as a W. Give us a score prediction this week, Sunday Night Football, Bills at Bengals.
I think this is going to be a great game. I'm really excited about it. Of course, as a Bills fan, I'm nervous. I do expect my Bills to go in there and handle business. I am going 31-27 Bills.
Likes the high score, and I like it. They're hoping for it, man. We've got some stinkers on some of these island games, so NBC at least is hoping for a good one there. I'm sure you can't wait to hear Collinsworth just talk some trash about the Bills because, he hates everybody apparently. To give the dude credit, I'm not sure who he likes, so maybe he just wants people to get off.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, he does like Mahomes. He likes Mahomes. He likes Andy Reid. He likes the kids to get off his lawn. The basic stuff that old cranky dudes like. Anything else before we get out of here, man?
Just the one thing here is the Bills' defensive line, I think, has an advantage in the playoff game last year, and the Bills emotionally were not in that game. They just couldn't. It just too much happened last year. But the weakness for Cincinnati was their offensive line. Bills' defensive line needed to win. They didn't. I think this game, the Bills' defensive line wins and gets after that offensive line of Kansas City, and they got to be able to get some pressure on Burrow. That's how you beat this team from the defensive side of the football. They do that. I think it can go a long way. Win that matchup.
Nice. So I think that's it. I don't suppose you're going to Cincinnati for this one, right? Going to have to watch it at home with the rest of us or at the backer bar or something?
Well, who the hell wants, chili, spaghetti combo weird thing that they do in Cincinnati? I'm just kidding. Cincinnati's a cool town. Everybody's got their food stuff. Unfortunately, I will not be watching this one in Cincy. I will be at home. I'll have all my traditions, all my stuff going just right. And hopefully watching the Bills win, celebrating with all the Bills Mafia worldwide.
You mispronounced superstitions, but I'll allow it.
Thank you.
And this was the Mafia Minute presented by Seize the Gap Fantasy Football. Remember, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. We're on social media at Seize the Gap FF. While you're at it, remember the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. That's all we ask. If you thought this was fun, please give us that thumb. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. And he is going to give you one last thing to get excited about the Bills this week.
Bills make me want to shout. Go Bills.